This will be a day long remembered. Now I am the master.
Welcome to another episode of Legends and Theories, and welcome to my review of The Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King by J.R.R. Tolkien, and also the audiobook by Andy Serkis. And I reviewed the other books that Tolkien has written, at least that already were released by the time of Return of the King. Currently, I'm about to read the Silmarillion for the first time, and I'll be starting that actually right after I finish recording this video. So let's just take a look at The Return of the King, and starting with Book 5. Again, this book is split into two books, like the previous books are. We get some very interesting stuff and immediately where we get to see Minas Tirith, where we have Pippin swearing his loyalty to Denethor, and really everything being set up. I just looking at the story, it's such interesting stuff. And then we have so many different things that happen, and so many things that are different from the movies. There's so much more in here with the fact that Sauron falls pretty early into Book 6. In fact, he falls during Book 6, I believe in Chapter 3. Chapter 3 is Mount Doom. Let me just double check. I have a copy right here. And looking at it, yes, Chapter 3 is where Sauron does fall. And we never really see Sauron during the book, but it's still very interesting to have him as a villain and taken out pretty early into the final part of it. Of course, all of Book 5 happens, which builds up to Sauron's defeat. And most of Book 6 is spent resolving plot lines and getting everyone to the place they need to be. If you thought the Return of the King movie had a lot of endings, then you don't know anything, because this has so many more endings, and there's even more if you go and continue into the appendices, which I will not be reviewing in this, but I'll give brief thoughts on, since the audiobook only goes over books A and B in the appendices, and that's a lot of different, just random things of lore, and well, also the retelling of the events briefly, and it's interesting to see. There's also other appendices based on family trees, calendars, how to pronounce everything, and that's all, interesting stuff. But just going to the main story, there's just so much here. We get great things like Eowyn killing the Witch King. We get in the battle at the Black Gate, where things go a lot differently. Merry isn't there, and we get to see really just only the beginning stages of it. Things are a lot more drawn out in the movies, but it's still very interesting and a very good story. There are way more characters in it. We have Baragond, who is a very good friend of Pippin in this. He doesn't even appear in the movies, but it's very interesting to see Pippin make a friend and someone who helps him save Faramir's life. And within we have just so many other great things in this book. there is other things put in that isn't in the movies, and the movies change. In fact, the armies of the dead don't even go to Minas Tirith. They go and help take out the Corsairs of Umbar, and that is it. And I think that is definitely a different choice for the movies. I do understand why they made it so they could have some assistance in this massive battle, and not have it in a scene they actually cut from the theatrical cut. But still, we have such a great time going through these different events, and with this jumping between what's happening with so many characters, since they're once again split up, seeing the stories of Gandalf and Pippin, and then going to Merry and everyone in Rohan, and finally going to Aragorn, Legolas, Gimli, and the rest of the Great Company, summoning the army of the dead. They eventually do get back together at a final point to go and attack the Black Gate and distract Sauron. So it is very interesting, and I really enjoy the story. Moving into book 6, things are extremely different from the Return of the King movie, with the fact that the Return of the King movie is still taking place, with Frodo's story at least, in the Two Towers, and this really begins with the rescue of Frodo from Cirith Ungol. And with that, we have a very great rescue by Sam, and you get to see just truly how loyal of a friend he is, and how he is able to pretty easily give up the ring and just be a genuinely great person. This is just a really great thing about Sam as a character, and I truly enjoy just how good of a person he is. And then we get some interesting stuff of them just trying to sneak across Mordor and trying to get to Mount Doom as they get stuck into an orc company that they have to escape, and just trying to get through the destroyed landscape of Mordor, and they eventually do make it to Mount Doom, where we get to see everything just gets so much more interesting. We get to see them climbing up the mountain as Sam carries Frodo, and eventually they're attacked by Gollum. And once Gollum takes the ring, he just slips and falls. This could be either because of what Frodo tells him, that if he touches the ring, he will be cast into the fire, or it could be that the god of Tolkien's universe, Iluvatar, pushes him in. Either way, it is very interesting to see that the entire story is ended with the ring, with it just being someone slipping. But moving on, we have some great wrap up. We get to see the Fellowship reunite in the field of Carmelin, and then we get to see both Faramir and Eowyn's love begin, but we also get to see so much more, including the crowning of Aragorn, him marrying Arwen, and more, before they all go and begin to split apart. And going to the chapter of many partings, that is a very well structured chapter where we slowly see the Fellowship break down to just basically Gandalf and the hobbits. And then they continue on to Rivendell, where they do spend a little bit of time with Bilbo, and then eventually are left by Gandalf on the borders of the Shire, where we get to the most interesting part of this, and the one thing that was sadly cut from the movies, and something that would have been really cool to see, which is the Scouring of the Shire. And this is the storyline where Saruman has taken over the Shire, and the hobbits need to go and save their home. This is a great final battle for the Lord of the Ring, and we get to see just how much the hobbits have learned and how much they have changed from the beginning of the story as Merry and Pippin are able to take the lead in combat. Sam is able to go and rally people to his aid, and Frodo, although refusing to fight, does show how he has gained great wisdom throughout his journey, wanting to spare Saruman and let Green Wormtongue get a second chance. All this is undone when Grima does try to kill Saruman. Frodo still had the best of intentions and didn't even want Green Wormtongue to be killed, but he wasn't able to speak fast enough with Green Wormtongue being shot down. And this ultimately leads to the Grey Havens, where we at first get to see how the hobbits were able to truly rebuild the Shire and make it such a better place, pushing it forward into the Fourth Age. And we finally get to see just how Frodo could not heal from the many scars and wounds that he endured both physically and psychologically from carrying the ring, being stabbed by the Witch King, and being stung by Shelob. And with it, he is just so tired and cannot just take living within Middle-earth with how bad these pains are. And he takes up the offer that Arwen gives him as a gift back in Minas Tirith after the ring was destroyed, and gets to go to Valinor or the Undying Lands so he can go and truly heal. And we finally get to see just how the story ends as Sam returns to his home and gets to be with his family. But also we get to see that everyone has been doing very well, including Merry and Pippin, who have been very well respected. And although we don't get too much more about Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli after they leave, there is some of the stuff pointed out in the appendices where we learn that Aragorn lives to a old age of, I believe, in like late 100s to maybe early 200s. I don't remember the exact age. And once he passes away, both Legolas and Gimli do go to Valinor so they can reunite with the final members of the Fellowship, and Sam does the same after his wife Rosie dies. And this is all very interesting, and I just truly love this book, and I 100% recommend it. But finally, moving to the narration by Andy Serkis, I think that, like I said with the other books, he does an amazing job, and I really recommend both listening and reading to it because you get to both hear the correct pronunciations of everything in Tolkien's world, but also you get to understand so much more because sometimes when reading you just forget those little things, and with reading this entire series I was able to just catch on to so much more that I originally missed. I want to know, what do you think of these books? Let me know in the comments, and I'll see you all in the next episode of Legends and Theories. Thank you for watching this episode of Legends and Theories. Please subscribe, like the video, share the video, leave a comment, check out the video on screen, and may the Force be with you.